Well, hello people. So in today's topic of this 20 hours Google Ads practical training course, we are going to talk about the responsive search ad formatting part. Now, if you remember, we have started our journey with the course curriculum of this digital marketing learnings. Then we talked about the project planning. We decided this project, which is springtails.shop, for doing entire marketing on Google, Facebook, and other platforms. And then we took into the step of pulling out the keywords through the keyword planning tool. We call it Springtails keyword planning. And then we have decided to create the search campaign with 5 different ad groups, starting with diamond drop, no spin, brass earring, mehndi ring, and generic groups. Then in another video, we have also talked about the media planning part, which was called as one of the most important aspect of digital planning, so that you can structure your entire plan and you should know what all campaigns you will be having in this project and what would be the expected outcome that you are looking forward. So we expected to create around 80 sales for running this entire project, and then we wanted to generate a sale in 700, in fact 379 rupees. Now, if I take you to the deck again, we have this different sheets, one which was talking about the course curriculum, then project overview, keyword planning, media planning, Google Ads complete course, and Google Ads certification, job interview, and the course benefits. Now, I have not talked much about the course benefits, but then if you join the course, you will be getting the training deck access, then Google Ad account access, course material, weekly live sessions, Q&As, certifications, and the group access. Anyway, so let's quickly come back to the topic of today, which is all about responsive search ad formatting. And then the question is, if we have already created the search campaign in the last video, why the hell we now think about creating the text ad? Because if the campaign creation part was successfully done, then why to create the text ad again? So to answer this question, let me take you to the account. So this was the campaign that we have launched, where we added 5 different groups. And in the last video along with you, I added this generic group in this campaign. Now this generic group was having multiple keywords and an ad copy. Now this is the kind of ad copy that we are talking about today, and we are looking forward to recreate this ad copy. The reason why we are doing that is to show you or to understand the ad strength part. So whenever you create an ad copy in Google, the ad strength is supposed to be excellent. So you can have your ad strength starting from poor to good and then to excellent. What you need is to have an amazing ad copy, so people who are looking at the ad on Google, they really have a higher intention of clicking the ad. And when you have higher click rate over the ad, you get a better CTR, which means click-through rate, which eventually help you to get more quality of the keywords. So now this is the normal responsive search ad. And in any of the responsive search ad, it starts with the final URL, which means the landing page. Then we have the URL path 1 and 2, which is just the display URL of your ad copy. Then we have 15 headlines. Each headline needs to have the character limit of 30. You can see that we can't have more than 30 characters. If you do so, you cannot really save the ad copy. And then at the bottom, you can also find options of adding 4 description lines in the ad copy. So let's try to understand how do we create the ad copies. I mean, at one perspective, from one angle, it seems quite easy that you all have to do is to add different headlines and descriptions, but then the headlines really have to make sense with the keywords. It really connects or conveys the right message to the customer who is looking at the ad copy. So we have a proper sheet for doing this activity. I can open up the sheet from here. We call it responsive search ads formatting. And now in this sheet, we'll be trying to create the entire formatting of different headlines and descriptions in this ad copy. But before we do so, let's talk about the formatting part. So earlier, when I started my journey back in 2015, we only had one kind of ad type, which was called as extended text ads. We used to call it ETA in the short format. And this ETA was only having 3 headlines and 2 descriptions. So we didn't have to really worry about adding a lot of headlines in the ad copy or a lot of descriptions over there. But then sadly, Google has sunset this ETA ad copy back in June 2022, which means last year, somewhere in middle of the year. And then starting from there, we had to create responsive search ads. We call it RSA ads. Now, whenever you go to the any of the Google Ad account, the only option that you have is to create the RSA. I'm sorry, if I take you this one, which is the search campaign, the only option that you have is to create the RSA ad, and then you also have the call ad, which is only for people who are making to call by clicking the ad copy. Now, in this RSA ad copy, we can have 15 headlines and 4 descriptions, which means you really have to type a lot of things. And it's a work which we also call as the ad copy content writing. In fact, in a couple of big agencies, you will find people who are the ad or the copywriting experts. We call them copywriters. And these people are supposed to write down the advertisement copies, not only in terms of Google, they also are supposed to write down the advertisement copies on different platforms like Facebook, Instagram, then LinkedIn. They are the ad copywriters. So maybe if you're really amazing with writing skill, or if you know how to write the ad copy, then you can think about getting a job in that segment. Now, before we get deeper into it, you always have to understand that we have a character limit in the headlines and descriptions. In every RSA copy that you create, you need to have at least, or at most, not at least, 30 characters. You cannot go beyond 30 characters in headlines. Similarly, you cannot go beyond 90 characters in descriptions. So maybe you are pretty good in writing, but then your message has to be conveyed within the set of 30 and 90 characters. So let's pull up the RSA format sheet. Now in this sheet, we are talking about creating ad copies for 5 different groups, starting with generic, no spin, mehendi ring, brass earring, diamond drop. And let's start with the first one. So I'm having 8, in fact I'm having around 12 to 15 columns, starting with headline 1, headline 2, headline 3, headline 4, headline 5, 6, 7, 8. So instead of 15, I'm talking about adding 8 headlines over here, because 15 is way too much to add. And then we can have 4 descriptions in this format sheet. If you would want to download this format sheet, then you can add a couple of more headlines. So let's say if you want to add the headline 9, you can just add a column and make it headline 9. Cool. But we are not going with headline 9 right now, so let's just stick with headline 8. And then we have formatting of adding 4 descriptions, then path 1, path 2. Path 1 and part 2 is the visible part of your URL. So whenever you make an ad copy, you get this option of adding path 1 and path 2. And then finally, we have to add the final URL, which is supposed to be the landing page of your ad copy. So let's start with the generic group. Now, before we hop into the generic group, let's look into the keywords of the generic group. Now, in the generic group, from this campaign, we can simply see we have keywords that talks about imitation and artificial jewelry. This is a generic group. And then we have to think about adding the headlines. So let's say I start with typing headline like artificial and imitation jewelry. Okay, so first thing is to count the characters. So whenever you add any headline over here, you have to make a count of the characters. So maybe this line is looking perfectly fine. Artificial, F-I-C-I-A-L, I'm sorry, F-I-C-I-A-L. I need to zoom it out. Okay, so artificial and imitation jewelry, this seems perfectly fine as a headline to add in the generic ad copy, because here we are talking about the generic terms. But then the problem is we have to count the characters. Reason being, if I just copy this headline and try to add it into the ad copy, so let's say I talk about creating the ad copy over here, and I just paste it into this cell, it's not going to be added because it's more than 30 characters. So every time we write an ad copy, we always have to think about putting in the right headline characters. So what to do, just to make sure that you are writing the ad copy within 30 characters, you can add a formula in the cell. So we have this formula. So what you can do, you can come into any of the later cell of the sheet. You can write is equal to LEN, and then you can choose the above cell. So now we can see we are having 32 characters in this cell, which is B2. Similarly, I can like copy this formula towards the right of the sheet simply by pulling this like this and then pulling it also towards my right. I've already put this formula to the entire sheet, at least in these four cells. So whenever I write anything like, in fact, I have not pulled it into the next sheet. Cool. So whenever I type something like this, let's say, it gets counted. You can see that. So numbers are getting updated. So now I don't have to worry about counting the characters all the time. I just have to ensure that anything which I'm typing, which I'm putting in these cells, is under 30 characters for headlines and under 90 characters for description, something like this. Cool. So let's start with writing down the ad copy. And it could be quite a tedious task to write down the entire head copy. So I have a shortcut for you. What you can do, instead of writing each and every headline one by one, why don't we take the help of automation now? So what we can do, we can simply come into ChatGPT, which is an AI tool. I guess everybody knows about this tool. I don't have to explain the tool much over here. So we simply write things like write Google text ads for artificial and imitation jewelry with 10 headlines and 4 descriptions. Now what's gonna do, it's gonna pull up a huge list of headlines and descriptions for you, and then you can simply choose to copy and paste the right headlines and descriptions. Now what I can do, I can simply copy all the headlines from here and put it in my formatting sheet somewhere over here. So I can simply copy and paste it. So I know it's gonna be a bit confusing for now, but let's say I simply copy this headline, affordable imitation jewelry, and put it over here in the headline 2. And I know it's set at 29 characters now, and I also format it in the right way. But before I do that, let's say I copy this one now, jewelry for every occasion. Cool. I copy it and put it over here. And this one is 28 characters. This one is already 32 characters. So I changed the headline 1 to artificial jewelry online, let's say. And then I copied the third one, simply like exquisite imitation jewel. As we are done with the headlines, let's come into the description lines. So we already have some descriptions pulled up in the ChatGPT account. So we have these 4 descriptions. I can simply copy and paste all these descriptions in my sheet. And then from here, we can simply copy and paste the description. So now we are good with our headline and descriptions for the ad copy 1, which is generic ad copy. In the path 1 and 2, I can simply write artificial jewelry, artificial, artificial jewelry. And for the remaining ones, let's say here I can type artificial nose ring, artificial nose pin, because this headline or this copy is going to be for nose pin. Similarly, artificial is going to be common in all the ad copies. And now let's talk about how do we simply add these headlines and descriptions in the ad account. So we simply get into the Google Ad account. So we simply come over here. Let's say we go to our available ad group, which is generic group within the search campaign. And then we edit this one. So let's say we want to edit this ad copy only. And then we have option of simply coming back to this sheet, copy and pasting everything over here. Cool. It's quite simple. You have to copy and paste all the headlines from the sheet into the end. Here we have 4 descriptions. Cool. So in the ad, we have to add path 1, path 2, which we have already added, and final URL has to be this link. So let's add the final URL as well, somewhere in the top of the headline. And then we simply save this ad copy. So here we are having a new ad copy with a pending ad strength. In fact, while writing, I can show you how the ad strength was changing up. So while I was adding a couple of headlines and descriptions, this ad strength is still poor. Now what we can do, I've not talked about improving this headline strength. but the copy looks fine, but then we need to improve it from poor to good to excellent, and Google is always having the recommendations for us. Now we can click on view ideas. We want to add all these text in the ad copy, which are nothing but the keywords that you have added in the ad copy. So we simply scroll down, and this time we click on headline and edit from here. If we have options, we can edit like this, or we can simply copy and paste it into the headlines. Now you can see the copy strength is changed from poor to average. Adding a couple of more headlines shall be changing it from average to good. And finally, we should be having it from good to excellent. So it's good now, that's perfect. And let's say I add a couple of more headlines and it has become excellent now. But then we have a problem. We are having one headline with 35 character limit. So what I do, I simply remove some words from here. It says grown diamond. I don't know the meaning of that, in fact. Diamond engagement ring. Perfect. So now we have an ad copy with the excellent ad strength. It's simply made, and now let's save it. Similarly, all of your ad copies should be having the excellent ad strength. If not excellent, then at least you should be going with the good ad strength. So I hope now you know how do you create all the ad copies for the remaining groups, starting with generic, then nose pin, mehndi ring, brass earring, and diamond drop. Finally, I want to talk about two additional ways to add the ad copies into the Google Ad account. One of the ways is to add using the Google Ad Editor formatting. Now, Google Ad Editor is an account by Google. It's a tool by Google. I can type ads editor because I'll be having it saved. It's like an application which you can always have in your Windows and Mac laptops. Once you have this application saved, you can do all the editing work. You can do all the ad campaign creation work through this ad account tool. We always call it Google Ads Editor, and you can simply add all these ad copies in one go. Let's say I can simply copy and paste this entire ad copy using the Google Ads Editor. So it saves a lot of time. You don't have to copy and paste all of your ad copies one by one. Even if you have 100 ad copies in a sheet, you can simply copy and paste all those 100 copies into the Google Ads Editor. So it saves a lot of time. You don't have to really rely upon copying and pasting all the ad copies one by one. But then you have to learn the Google Ads Editor. I can talk about the Ads Editor part in a later video because it's gonna be quite lengthier video in that case. So let's skip the Ads Editor part right here, but you need to have a formatting again for the ads. So if you want to create a sheet for Google Ads Editor, you can follow this formatting which says Google Ads Editor format. It starts with campaign names, then ad groups, and then the headlines and descriptions. In the end, you also have the option of using the bulk upload format option. So what you do, if you want to bulk upload all the ad copies in the Google Ad account, then you can simply come over here. Oh my god, have I skipped the ad creation part? No, it's fine. So you can always come into tools and settings, then bulk actions, and you can upload your ad copies using this button, uploads. But then this time you have to follow a different template. You can download the template from here. For the ad copies, it goes with responsive search ad. Otherwise, I have already added this formatting into the sheet which says bulk upload format. So you have different format of adding your ad copies into the bulk upload sheet. But then I hope now you are pretty good with creating the responsive search ad by yourself. You know how you can write down the ad copy starting from headline, descriptions, final URL 1 and 2. Path URL 1 and 2, and then the final URL. In the later videos of this course, in fact, before I walk you into the later videos, what I want from you is to come back into this Google Ads sheet and then directly upload into a campaign wait. So it's like direct upload. So let me write down the exercise for you. So let's say create ads RSAs for add some extra minutes or hours, and then you can write down the ad copy by yourself, and then create 4 groups for the remaining ad copies. create yourself 4 remaining groups, that's fine. And then finally you can just learn a bit about the Google Ads editor tool. I know it's going to be time taking process, but at least you can start with downloading this tool, which is called as Google Ads Editor, into your system, and start getting a bit of information, start learning a bit of things about the tool. In the next video, I shall be talking about things like keyword match types, negative keywords, ad extractions. I mean, we really have a lot of things to cover. So I'll be seeing you in the next one.